Okay, everyone, welcome to the Thursday, February 20th, 2025 meeting of the Albany Common Council. It's our work session prior to our regular council meeting. Mr. Jimenez, please call the roll.
Adams.
Present.
Anane. Ballerin. Clark. Conti.
Here.
Farrell. Flynn. Frederick.
Here.
Hoey.
Here.
Johnson. Keegan.
Here.
Kimbrough.
Here.
Love. Here. Robinson.
Here.
Zamer. 9 present. We are also joined by Council President Corey Ellis, City Clerk Shaniqua Jackson, Corporation Counsel Robert McGee, Research Counsel Jake Iceland, Legislative Director Brian Menes, Junior Policy Analyst Alyssa Kamara.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Jumping right into the agenda for approval of minutes from the previous meeting. I'll be offering the February 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes for approval. Moving on, no local laws under consideration. On to ordinances introduced. We have 1/22/25 by Mr. Conti for introduction. It's in relation to adding to the designated parking permit spaces under the parking plan for Knox Alley. That'll be a referral to the council's planning committee. Next, on to ordinances held by Mr. Johnson's 11/51/24. It's an ordinance in relation to authorizing the sale of 92 Alexander Street to Benjamin Morton. We'll be voting on that. I don't know, Mr. Johnson's not here, but it went to the Finance Committee and passed with a positive recommendation.
Passed out with a positive recommendation, unanimous.
Okay, so we'll be moving forward with that. Then next, by Mr. Ballerin, it's ordinance 65/111/24. It's ordinance in relation to the USDO, in relation to requirements for signs. That's for purposes of amendment. For that ordinance. Then next on to ordinance 67/112/24 by Mr. Robinson. This ordinance authorizing the sale of a couple of properties to the Underground Railroad project. Okay. That will be moving ahead with that, Mr.
Yeah, part of the conditions from the Finance Committee meeting were that an appraisal was received. That was sent to council members earlier today, and we do have a couple of spare copies in case anybody does want to read one.
So, but the intention is to move ahead and vote on that, so.
And just to be clear, the way that we technically worded it, we were all supportive of this, obviously, and passed out of committee with a positive recommendation, just requested that additional information, but it wasn't necessarily contingent upon. But we now have received that, and we went through, and I think, I don't want to speak for the whole Finance Committee, but I think we're comfortable voting tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be moving forward with that. Then next, under resolutions, resolution 13/22/25R by Ms. Frederick's resolution, we're adding by majority consent, and it's for for moving funding, and again, this is in relation to the Research Council position. We're making an adjustment to allow for Mr. Iceland to work with us part-time. Do you want to speak to that, Ms. Frederick? Do you want to say anything? You don't have to.
No.
But again, it's making the adjustment to allow.
Correct. Yeah.
It's in your packet to allow for Mr. Iceland to work for us part-time.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's no no adjustment to the budget, so it's just really almost like it's not a title change, but it's
Right.
just making the position
To
part-time.
part-time.
So my question is, you are in effect eliminating the full-time position, correct?
Yeah, that's
And you're
we did it
converting to
before, yeah,
part-time.
with Mr. Pichardo.
Okay. So what would, let me before I ask,
sorry, go ahead.
Jake, what would prevent us from hiring someone on a part-time basis, even if the line still didn't indicate the position was part-time?
Right, so you're saying
So- and
we don't
so is it-
necessarily need to change,
Yeah.
make the adjustment.
Because you're eliminating the option for a full-time research council by making it part-time, but does having a research council line, does that prohibit you from using that line to hire someone on a part-time basis?
I don't know, I didn't come up with this. This is how we did it
I
with
would like
Mr.
to
Pichardo.
see if
So
we
wait,
go.
you're thinking that we could just leave it the full-time position and hire someone
Yeah,
and have them,
yeah, and in that way, you're not eliminating the full-time position and the option to have that position as a full-time position. Is that,
Yeah, can legal weigh in on that? Because I think it's a good point that you bring up, because then if we want to get a full-time position in the future, we're going to have to, again,
have to
seek
change it back.
another
Right.
piece of legislation to amend the budget. So do we have to go through this process?
I mean, we could reach out to HR to ask for their opinion. You know, we had in the past been juggling around the same couple of positions. You know, research counsel becomes junior policy analyst, becomes whatnot. So we continue to do it in the same tradition that we had been. But we could reach out to HR tomorrow and find out if we could do it in the way that Councilmember Conti recommends, and then if yes, proceed as we are. If no, try to do this on the next at the next meeting.
I mean, if you're going from part-time to full-time, then you would want to do that because there are salary implications there and everything else, but.
Right. So the question would be whether HR and whether the administration feels comfortable, you know, letting the council fudge. I don't even want fudge feels like the wrong word because it's not really fudging. Yeah, it just will depend on what
Right.
HR is comfortable doing.
I mean, you're not changing the salary range, so the salary range is the same.
same, yeah.
It's the discretion of the council to decide their staffing, and if using that line to hire a part-time is what they want to do, or we want to do.
So the key though is, right, the council as a body acts via motion and or resolution. So unless the council does some motion saying that they would like to go to part-time, there's not really a record saying that they did. You know, perhaps it doesn't have to be a resolution.
I don't know, I mean, the record is in what, the decision the council made in who they hired, on what basis,
Mhm.
as opposed to having something, I mean, I just think it's something, because what caught me was you're eliminating the full-time position and making it
Mhm.
part-time, so you're eliminating the option you have to go back to a full-time position at some point.
Mhm. So, right, you would need to do another resolution.
Right, and that's what we did before, to switch it back,
Well, I mean,
so.
So, yeah, so I think that's
Well,
like the question, like, do we have to?
Right.
Is like, it's kind of what we would like to figure out.
So it really is a question to HR. If, you know, they might say, I'm sorry, we're uncomfortable doing this unless we have an official record from the council saying that that it wants to go this way. They might say, oh, we've spoken to leadership and trust their representation of the full council. But that is a question for HR.
So what we'll do at this rate is we'll just hold it and continue with the full-time position with the intention of retaining you part-time, for part-time hours, and then we'll clear up with HR what needs to be done or not. So
this won't have any impact on you, will it?
at this point, we won't MC it and we won't move forward with it, all right? So we'll drop that.
President Pro Tem, just to clarify, am I introing and holding, or are we going to just take this up on a different meeting?
We'll just take it up at a different meeting.
Thank you.
We'll reach out to HR tomorrow, and if HR says that it's necessary, we can have it on the supporting legislation for tomorrow. If not, then we will let you know at the next caucus. but you'll already know when you see it not on the supporting legislation.
Right, right, and then that way it can go through in the normal order, or the normal course. And it'd be great if we don't have to make the adjustment, and then we'll just continue as is. So you can mix that. And then next on resolutions, also by Ms. Frederick, resolution of Common Council appointing Stephen McLaughlin as a member of the Board Assessment Review. You want to speak to that? He appeared before you, correct?
Yes, he appeared before the Finance Committee. Steve McLaughlin has done 3 terms on the Board of Assessment Review, looking to serve his 4th term. We had a more detailed discussion around the assessment process done this year and recommendations for improvements for future years, and some feedback that he's received, not only for the bar, but also for the assessor's office, the city as a whole. So I think we had a fruitful discussion. I'd encourage council members to listen to that and obviously, proactively get ahead of the next round of reassessment that will come.
Thank you. So we'll be moving forward with that on the recommendation of Finance Committee. Okay. So that's it for the resolutions. And moving on, we do have a list of commissioner deeds that we have to take up. And that'll be all for what we have tonight, this evening. Got any questions, comments, anything for further discussion? Okay, if not, I'll just brief pause until we start the meeting. Okay?
Good evening. We'd like to welcome everybody to tonight, Thursday, February 20th, to Albany February 20th, 2025, to Albany Common Council meeting. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams.
Present.
Anani. Ballerin.
Here.
Clark. Conti.
Here.
Farrell. Flynn. Here. Frederick.
Here.
Hoey.
Here.
Johnson.
Present.
Keegan.
Here.
Kimbrough.
Here.
Love. Robinson.
Here.
Zamer.
Here.
12 present, 3 absent.
Thank you. And if you like, would you join me in a pledge of allegiance, and then after that, a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we'll move on to our public comment period. During public comment period, you state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak upon any subject you wish to speak about. You will see the light turns green, that means go. Yellow means you have 1 minute remaining on your comments, and red means conclude your comments. At that time, common council members cannot address your comments or anything that you say. If they choose to address your comments or reply to your comments, they can do so at a later time in the agenda. With that being said, can the clerk please call the first speaker?
Deirdre Brody.
Name and address for the record and proceed.
One more time.
Down. Green, thank you. Hello, my name is Deirdre Brody, and I reside at 62 Willett Street in Albany. Thank you. First, I'd like to commend Councilmember Conti for proposing Ordinance 12225 regarding expansion of the permit parking system for Knox Alley. As a resident of this neighborhood for 20 years and currently on a neighboring street, I can personally attest to the need for resident parking, especially during the weather we've been having. Regarding Ordinance 227224, I commend Council Members Keegan and Flynn for introducing this ordinance. I would also like to thank the Chair of Public Safety for bringing this ordinance forward for lively discussion in the January committee meeting. Discussion of this ordinance's merits and known challenges were robust, and I appreciate the diversity of opinions expressed. Public safety is admittedly a very complicated issue, but one that is incredibly important to me, our neighbors in the 6th Ward, and visitors to Lark Street. Acts of aggressive or hostile panhandling have made it even harder for restaurants and businesses to keep patrons and staff coming back, let alone attract new ones. Parents walking children to and from bus stops are more concerned for their family's safety. And perhaps most importantly, needing to beg to suffice one's daily needs is a reflection that we as a community have not done enough to ensure people who are struggling have access to supportive housing and basic necessities. We need a vibrant business district, a walkable neighborhood, and a welcoming community, all of which requires people to feel and be safe and cared for while in our city. Many of my neighbors and I are quite interested in this topic, and as we are in other areas of how we can improve public safety in light of the escalating violence and threats to public safety we've been experiencing in the Lark Street corridor in our city. In closing, I'd just like to thank the council members and staff for your willingness to propose solutions worth considering as part of an array of necessary steps forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Can the clerk call the next speaker?
Patrick White.
Patrick White, 709 Myrtle Avenue, 12208. I hope you're interested. I am the president of the Capital Region Festival of Theater. It's a newly formed theater organization we incorporated last summer. We are a 501c3, and we were founded to create an event which is going to be a 4-day region-wide, 7-venue theater festival ranging from Fort Salem to Averill Park, with stops in Albany, Schenectady, Troy, culminating in a day of 20 events at Albany from June 12th through June 15th. We created this festival because we don't feel that theater is getting the attention and the support that it deserves. There are over 100 theater companies in the Capital Region. There are 22 high schools competing for the National Jimmy Awards. There are 8 colleges, 5 of which have theater majors. There are 47 community theaters. There are 16 professional theaters. We are an all-volunteer organization, and we feel that the Capital Region is a great place to discover theater. It's a great place to study theater. It's a great place to leave and go and build a career. And it's a great place to return and make theater part of your life. I spent 13 years in New York City trying to make a living as an actor. And when I moved home, I was heartbroken. I was crushed. I did not think, I thought my life was over, and for all intents and purposes, it was, because I could not fill my life with theater as I did in Manhattan. And since then, I've discovered that I can act, direct, produce. I created a theater company, Harbinger, which has produced 15 Capital Region theater premieres in the last 3 years. I review for Metroland, Nippertown, the Daily Gazette. I have a podcast, The Play That Changed My Life. We want everyone to know that theater is out there and the myriad number of opportunities available. We could use the Albany space is very expensive. We need space. Right now I'm having board meetings at Starbucks. We could use printing. We need programs for the event. So in closing, I just want to say that, we would like to everyone to know that the Capital Region is a great place to love theater your whole life long. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have no other people signed up for public comment period at this time, so public comment period.
Is anyone a large?
Excuse me?
Is anyone a large?
Just hand that to Mr. Kimbrough. Thank you.
There you go.
It's a little small for me, but.
Public comment period is deemed closed this time. Moving on to approval of minutes. Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer the February 3rd of 2025 minutes for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of minutes is passed. Moving on to, we don't have any consideration of local laws. Any reports of any standing committees? None? Continuing on. We'll move to considerations of ordinances. Okay, no problem. Finance.
All right, the Finance Committee met on Monday, February 18th, and discussed Ordinance 115124, Ordinance 67-11224, and Resolution 105-9224R, all passed out of committee with a favorable recommendation and will be voted on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Keegan?
Yes, the Ethics and Workforce Culture Ad Hoc Committee will be issuing its annual report for 2024 at next week's caucus.
Thank you. Moving right along to ordinances, consideration of ordinances. Mr. Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice the introduction of ordinance 1.22.25.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
An ordinance amending Article 8 Residential Parking Permit System of the Chapter 359 Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the City of Albany in relation to designating permit parking only spaces on in Knox Alley.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Thank you, Mr. President. There'll be referral to Council's Planning Committee.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinances held. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Mr. President, I'll notice ordinance 11.51.24, and I ask for its reading and passage.
Thank you, sir. Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Common Council authorizing the sale of 92 Alexander Street, tax map parcel numbers 7664-2-11 to Benjamin Morton.
Discussion on this ordinance. Mr. Johnson.
I'll just say that the Morton family has been a very important steward of Alexander Street, and I would be certain that they would do the right thing with the parcel.
Thank you. Ms. Frederick?
I just also want to add that I think that this is a wonderful example of city programs working. So Mr. Morton was part of the Moto Own program for the city, so he maintained the lot for over a year, and now we're going to the portion where he's going to now acquire the ownership. So a wonderful example of that, and very happy to see this come to fruition.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Valorant.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Conti.
Yes, I'm co-sponsor also.
Flynn.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Frederick.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Hoey.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Johnson.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Kimbrough.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Love. Robinson.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Zamer.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
12 in the affirmative.
Ordinance passes. Continue on. Mr. Ballard?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we amend ordinance 65-111-24 to the version that was discussed during the January 27, 2025 Planning and Economic and Development Use Committee.
Thank you. Is there any objections to this amendment? Seeing none, passes. Moving right along, continue on with considerations of ordinances. Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Those ordinance 67.112.24 and Acts 4.8's passage.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
An ordinance authorizing the sale of a portion of tax map parcel number 6574-1-36 located between Livingston Avenue and 3rd Street to the Underground Railroad History Project of the Capital Region, Incorporated, DBA Underground Railroad Education Center.
Discussion on this ordinance. Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Anani. Sorry. Valorant.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Conti.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Flynn.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Frederick.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Hoey.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Johnson.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Keegan.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Kimbrough.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Love.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Robinson.
Yes.
Zamer.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
12 in the affirmative.
Ordinance passes. That concludes our ordinance. Mr. Kimbrough?
Where are we, sir?
Just hold the rest.
The rest of the ordinances on the agenda are held.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to resolutions held. Ms. Frederick?
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice resolution 105-9224R and ask for its passage by roll call vote.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council reappointing Stephen McLaughlin as a member of the Board of Assessment Review.
Discussion on this resolution. Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams.
Yes.
Valorant.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Flynn.
Yes.
Frederick.
Yes.
Hoey.
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Kimbrough,
Yes.
Love, Robinson,
Yes.
Zamer.
Yes.
12 in the affirmative.
Resolution passes. Mr. Kimbrough, that's it.
That, excuse me, Mr. President, the rest of the resolutions on the agenda are held.
Thank you. Any miscellaneous business? Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. As the representative of the Second Ward, we are very excited to hear the state talk about funding for the Second Ward, but it leaves a bad taste in our mouth when we aren't included in the walkthrough. They're going to have a walkthrough in our community, and none of the community leaders be involved. I think that that sends a mixed message to us that, you know, they're saying out loud they want input from the community, but yet the elected officials aren't a part of the conversation. I think one of the things that is my responsibility is to speak for the people, and just being left out of that conversation, it adds a bad taste to something that I should be smiling about. You know, we waited a long time to hear our name being mentioned as it is being mentioned, and it gives us the feeling that it's going to be the same old, where they come in and they spend money around us. And so, you know, I just want to go on record and say I am open to meeting with anyone that wants to talk about the needs of the south end of the Second Ward. And I hope that the people that are leading these conversations hear this and take me up on my offer. Thank you.
Mr. Kimbrough, we have Commissioner of Deeds.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, I offer a list of names for appointment to Commissioner of Deeds for the term ending December 31, 2026, and waive the reading of the names.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Kimbrough,
Motion to adjourn.
your second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.